Good morning, gamers. Hello. Shadowlands was supposed to come out this week, so what's more fitting than to have a beta discussion about my experience thus far and the current state of beta. I've been playing the Shadowlands beta for about 3 weeks now, and I legitimately didn't know that I had a beta invite, so if you opted in, check your email. Some of my time of playing the beta, I've tried to mainly avoid a lot of story-related stuff and just stick to running Mythic Plus keys, which the dungeons themselves do have some spoilers in them. So let's talk about these experiences that I've had in the Shadowlands beta. In the beta, I decided to mainly play Subtlety Rogues since that's what I want to play in Mythic Plus in retail when Shadowlands actually does come out. And in doing so, man, was I in for a ride. There has yet to be a beta build that I have played where rogues have not been doing insane damage. And that insane damage is not due to rogues being overpowered. Most of the insane damage that rogues have been doing in the past 3 weeks of builds that we've been going through, and the previous builds even before that, are bugs or unintentional things that are added to conduits or covenants or legendaries that are just making rogues' damage look very skewed. From the Kyrian Covenant ability bug where you would use the Kyrian finisher and then all your remaining finishers after that would act as if they had 7 combo points, which was also alongside of the 25-yard Shadow Strike range, which is still in the beta by the way, but not in the pre-patch. And honestly, I kind of hope that they keep that 25-yard range because it feels pretty nice and it's a nice quality of life change. Then the Pelagos Combat Mediation Soulbind bug, where it would give you 1080 mastery indefinitely when your base mastery was like 200 to 400. And now to the Bloodfang Legendary literally having a typo in its build, where the dot that you put on your target is supposed to be calculated based off of 9.5% of your attack power, and they missed a 0 and now it is 95% of your attack power. Yeah, I'd say it's a bit hard to judge whether or not Subtlety's overpowered or not at the moment, but I think the main problem with Subtlety lies more in the fact that the other melee classes are just not performing as well or they're undertuned. Especially when people compare them to Subtlety, or they compare them to Subtlety not knowing that there are all these damage increasing bugs that it has. And yes, I understand that this is a beta and there's a lot of things that can change, and anything that's way at the bottom can all of a sudden be all the way at the top and vice versa. But this just becomes extrapolated when you take into consideration how melee unfriendly these dungeons are right now. Not even accounting for the new affixes Spiteful or Fixate. And while the dungeons themselves are melee unfriendly, and I've pretty much only been playing melee in the dungeons outside of a little bit of Shadow Priest on the side, I still quite enjoy them. The dungeon design for Shadowlands right now is great. I'm not quite sure what it was in Battle for Azeroth with the dungeon design, but I just could not get into doing Mythic Plus and BFA like I was into doing Mythic Plus and Legion. And Shadowlands dungeons so far have definitely kept my attention. And while the dungeons have their plethora of bugs, I can't think of a single dungeon that I just absolutely despise yet. It's still early. And let's go ahead and talk about the new seasonal affix Prideful while we're at it. Prideful has been an amazing addition to Mythic Plus. Being able to control the mobs you pull to pop Prideful when you want it, unless you're not paying attention and you spawn them in the middle of a giant trash pull, is a super nice agency and tool that you can use in Mythic Plus Keystones. The AoE pulses that the mob does, coupled with the lines that people will shoot out from time to time, is some nice flavor. And the buff that you get from killing the ad is super useful for killing hard trash packs or a boss. And while some of the dungeons have been pretty rough because people still don't know that interrupts exist, and while some of the dungeons have taken some time to get used to with regards to routes and trash percentages, there are a bunch of mechanics in the dungeons which have been pretty fun to play with. Like the 1v1 duel in Theater of Pain, where you and a random person are selected to battle each other in the middle of a boss fight, and then the winner gets a damage buff. You know damn well I saved my Cloak of Shadows for casters. Or the one of these is not like the other game during the boss in Mist of Tyrannus Sight. Or the mechanic where your entire group gets pulled on top of each other while you have quaking. The boss designs and fights are great, and I hope that I enjoy them as much in the future as I have been enjoying them recently. So if there were any complaints to be said, besides the obvious bugs which will be fixed before the game officially launches, right? Or the target cap, which is totally being effective and not making us pull big in keys. Yep, it's really doing a good job. I'd have to say my biggest issue with the dungeons are some of the telegraphs for mechanics. Some of them can be really difficult to see with everything going on, especially when you take into account things like Sanguine or Quaking or people's Covenant abilities that have large AoE things on the ground. Or there are AoEs that just blend in with the ground because their color is really similar to the theme of the dungeon. Or the spell effect itself is just transparent and awkward like some of the ones in Spires of Ascension. And yeah, I get that looking out for them and dodging them is part of the challenge, which is fine. But when they start overlapping with each other or blending in with everything that's going on the ground kind of stacked on top of itself, it can be a bit annoying. But overall, I've really been enjoying my time on the beta. I love the world design, and the overall aesthetic of Shadowlands is just phenomenal. I think it's a cool addition on how you go between each zone using Ouroboros as like the central hub, but I can already see how some of that might get annoying with regards to leveling and questing. And the zones themselves feel much larger than they look when you're just looking at the map of them. The addition of bringing back class abilities to be class-wide has my hotbars full, which was a welcome change. And I've actually been having a good time using the Covenant abilities, which of course have their own controversies around balance and use, which I won't dive into here. But I figured it was worth being at least honest about it from a non-balanced perspective. Bugs have been a huge hindrance, and a lot of keys, literally breaking keys from like a 16 all the way back down to a 12. And while bugs are expected in a beta, I honestly wasn't expecting this many. I submit as many bug reports as I can when I find them, but the more I play the beta, the more I see just how unfinished Shadowlands is, and it makes me happy that they actually decided to push the release date back. I just hope that Blizzard uses this time to focus on important things and listen to player feedback rather than solving problems that either don't exist or adding more convoluted systems or just not listening at all. So what do you think about Shadowlands so far? Do you have a beta key? Have you been able to play it at all? I'm genuinely excited for Shadowlands and I can't wait. I just, like I said, hope that they take their time and release it when it's ready. If you want to talk about World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy, or you just need someone to talk to, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter or Discord, or come hang out on my Twitch streams. As always, JoJo and I appreciate you taking time out of your day to spend it with the both of us and watch our video. We hope to see you back next time, and we hope you have a great day. Goodbye!